This is a podcast from the Queen City Podcast Network.
Welcome to Nerd School.
Nerds! Nerds! Nerds!
Yeah.
Suck it, nerd!
Nerds! Nerds! Nerds!
Suck it, nerd!
Nerds! Nerds! Nerds!
Suck it, nerd!
Visit me, daddy ass.
Welcome to Nerd School.
My name is Low-Key. Welcome to the Nerd School podcast. You Jack.
All right, Antman the Wasp, the sequel to Ant-Man, is a weird little offbeat comedy set between the epics of Infinity War and Endgame.
Done on purpose.
Yep, 2018 from director Peyton Reed, I believe. Hold on. So Peyton Reed is the director of Bring It On, the cheerleader movie with Kirsten Dunst and Gabrielle Union.
The classic.
Also, the movie called Down with Love, which is apparently an underrated sort of musical throwback comedy starring Renee Zellweger and Ewan McGregor, which I've never seen, but
I've seen it.
and then
But I
there's
don't have a lot of memories.
The Breakup starring Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston.
Which is funny.
Yep. And then Yes Man, Jim Carrey movie where he can't say no to anything. So he gets into crazy stuff. And
I think
then
be confused with Liar Liar by Jim Carrey, where he cannot tell a lie.
yeah, it's true.
Oh wait,
I-
those are two different things?
Yes.
Yes.
I think Yes Man is more of a, I don't know if he physically cannot or if he's just determined to be the kind of guy that says yes to everything.
No, I feel like he's cursed. Or something happens and he absolutely cannot. He would love to
It
say
has
no.
something to do with Tony Robbins, I think.
Yeah. He went to like a retreat. And
Joe's
Liar
adding that to
is his
queue now.
kid made a wish. And Liar Liar, his kid made a wish and then he couldn't be a liar anymore. And he was a lawyer in Liar Liar.
That's right. I remember that one. I don't remember
Yes, man.
I don't remember Yes
How
Man.
dare you not be up to date with your
Uh,
Jim Carrey.
I think the curse is from Liar Liar. This is okay. Here's the completely not related to Ant-Man and the Wasp other than the director.
So this director did all
So
the
it's
Jim
still
Carrey.
related.
No, just
the-
did this one Carl
Oh.
movie
This
where he
one.
plays Carl, a bank loan officer, has become withdrawn since his divorce from Stephanie. He has an increasingly negative outlook on life and routinely ignores his friends Peter and Rooney. Let's see who plays Stephanie.
Please tell me it's Deborah Jo Rupp.
No, it's Molly Sims. And Rooney is Danny Masterson, who is a problematic 70s show
Yeah,
guy.
that guy raped everybody.
More than problematic. He's been
Yep.
found guilty as he should be.
Yeah, he did a lot of stuff. Was it rape or was it like child trafficking or some shit?
That's
A little
Allison Mack.
inappropriate
Mack.
relationships with minors.
What'd you say, Art Star? Matt?
Allison Mack from
Smallville, that's a
Yeah.
separate thing, right?
Oh, that's a different thing.
Yeah, she was a
She's in
part
that.
of the cult. She was a part of a sex cult.
Yeah.
yeah, but which involves sex trafficking at Joe was
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Ugh.
Danny Masterson was graping
He was like it was like children or something, right? Masterson was doing.
young
So you got-
women.
So is he in jail now?
He was just, I feel like the trial just ended this year at some point. He should be. I don't remember the sentencing. But I remember we just got, or maybe last year, it all blurs together, but he just got found guilty.
Oof. Anyway, Bradley Cooper is one of his best friends in this, and Zooey Deschanel is in this as well. Carl attends a motivational seminar that encourages people to seize the opportunity to say yes, and he meets inspirational guru Terence, played by Terence Stamp. Haha, that guy's awesome. That's Zod from the first Superman film, and the second one,
Nice.
who tells him to enter a covenant with the universe and say yes to anything asked of him. Later, Carl says yes to a homeless man's request and is stranded out of gas with no battery on his cell phone in Elysian Park. Disillusioned, he hikes to a nearby gas station where he meets Allison, an unorthodox young woman. She gives him a ride back to his car on her scooter and kisses him before leaving. A few days later, he is offered oral sex by his elderly neighbor, Tilly, In return for helping her put up shelves, when he refuses and immediately experiences bad luck, he returns and surprisingly enjoys the moment. And now starts believing that he must say yes or suffer the consequences. So it's not really a curse. It's just Fanula Flanagan is Tilly, who apparently blows Jim Carrey in this. So that's that movie. That's Peyton Reed's movie.
So is this Peyton Reed's first MCU movie, or did he do the first?
He did the first Ant-Man. He did all 3 Ant-Mans.
All the Ant-Mans.
Yeah.
All the Ant-Mans. Ant-Mans.
Although, yeah, as we established in the first Ant-Man, it was sort of, it was supposed to be Edgar Wright, who did Scott Pilgrim versus the World and the other movies. Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, good. And yeah, some good films. But then, like, I think they had some creative differences, so Peyton Reed stepped in and ran with his concepts.
Peyton Reed is a North Carolinian, born in Raleigh.
There you go.
Attended UNC Chapel Hill, graduated in 87. The degree in English and radio. How about that?
All right.
He was a DJ for WXYC, UNC student radio station. So it's just like Andy, dumb radio idiot jerk.
How dare you?
Yes, I'm a dumb radio idiot jerk.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie is a weird, like it's a little, you got Infinity War, which is like the most downer ending, depressing, heavy, dense film from the MCU. It's like the first half of the pinnacle of building up to this thing. And then we have this little weirdo comedy about shrinky, jumpy, shrinky, growy people.
Shrinky, growy times.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this time, the Wasp actually gets to be the Wasp, because in the first Ant-Man, we didn't get any Wasp.
Yeah, she didn't even get to do any superhero stuff, did she?
Yeah.
Well, if you remember in the first one, she spent a lot of that film anti her dad in the first place. So yeah, she wouldn't have been the Wasp.
And at the end of that movie, he sort of said, all right, I should have done this a while ago. And then he gave her the suit. And then and she was like, it's about
you gave her wings, he says. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wings and blasters. You didn't have those for me, did you? Oh, yeah, I did. One more thing about Peyton Reed before we jump into the movie. He is in a band called Cardinal Family Singers with Norwood Cheek.
From Cheek Face?
Yeah. The lead singer of Cheek Face. Norwood Cheek is another director, producer, and editor of film television. He's known for his music videos and work with Super 8 film, apparently. Also went to Chapel Hill.
Well, I don't know him. But
yeah.
So how does this feel as like a switch gears from Infinity War?
So my thing with this is I'm a little upset that this happened. This took place before Infinity War, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's not. We're not watching it.
It's kind of like
order.
It's like during.
I'll give my theory.
Well, sort of. I mean, you could say it was.
I'll give my theory.
Yeah. I guess only the post-credit sequence takes place during. I guess the rest could be before.
So it's like, very early. Like Marvel has this progression, and they might not be doing it, but as someone on the outside looking in, that's what it kind of feels like to me. Like how in the very beginning, we had like these Netflix series, which kind of alluded to stuff that was happening in the MCU. Then we had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all these other shows come along, which kind of wasn't necessarily canon, but also alluded to some things that were happening in the MCU. Then we started having like what you call the main movies, but then also movies which happen like in the in-between, which is like, okay, this is in between, like how we get this movie and then Captain Marvel before we get Endgame. So it's like this whole like setting up things so you can, how this person incorporates, how this person figures into what happens in like the end of this phase. Whereas once they got to the next phase, they started coming out with shows which kind of replaced these big kind of sort of budget movies where it's like, okay, we're introducing this thing here, boom, 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 boom. This happened alongside what was going on with the blip. But here's like this movie, and then here's like this 5 or 6 episode show, which also ties into it. So like, it's like movies like this, which while fun, it all to me sometimes it feels like where it's good. Where it's like before when we had like the first couple of Thor movies, it was like, did we really need this to be made? This would have been better if it was just like a one shot kind of thing, as opposed to this full on blockbuster movie. So I kind of feel like this is where Ant-Man was going. It was made specifically to tie Scott into his kind of moment that happens in Endgame, but then also show that it also happens during the snapping or the blip, or right before the blip, I should say.
Like, it's always like, why didn't these people show up? Where was this guy during Infinity War? Why didn't he help? This is where he was. He was under house arrest.
I had a discussion with someone recently about how, we're so far, like the next few phases are kind of short, but then also what's happening now kind of it directly sometimes not necessarily retcon, but interfere or it gives you this comic booky, okay, here's the main story, but then there were these other things that we probably should have introduced way long ago, but like here now it's here, so it kind of erases some stuff or switches some stuff. So it's like I think it's good that they're slowing down now, that we're not getting as much, just because some of the stuff that they're showing us now, we're going forward like, oh, this is kind of cool, this happened, that happened, why they weren't here. Then you get further along, it's like, oh, they were there, you just didn't see them, but we're not going to address the fact that they were there. We're just going to say that they were there, trust us, they were there, you just didn't see them,
It's like the tie-in issues to the big
right
event. This is like a tie-in, like
definitely.
So here's the big thing, and here's Ant-Man, how he plugs into the story. And
like, I'm in San Francisco, like all of this big shit's happening, but like in little old San Francisco was just this guy.
Yeah,
I was gonna say San Francisco is far away. When they show those outer shots of it all, I'm like, oh, it's way out in San Francisco. They don't know what's going on. And
yeah, but it's like if it's a
in
big
Wakanda
ass spaceship coming from the damn, I can say from the sky. It was a big ass spaceship in this. Like we've all seen Independence Day, right? So it's like,
yeah, you can see it everywhere.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
entering the atmosphere. Like, I wonder what that is.
Yeah, but I think there's a decent amount of time between the end of the film and the start of the post-credit scene where it takes place during Infinity War, because they had to shrink down the whole thing and put it in a van and all that stuff. That will take some time.
Well, it messes with time, size, and everything. I don't know. Yeah. So, okay, are we getting ready to jump in the movie now?
Yeah,
ready when you're
Antman
ready.
Wasp. So I'm not done rewatching it, so I'm only a little bit way in, but I got a lot to talk about.
It takes
so
us 10 years just to get
right.
Yeah, we won't get to it, but
like, I mean, I'd already watched it this weekend, and then I started watching it again. Like, I literally stopped. I literally stopped. Like, I want to say I'm like an hour and 10, and it's like right when he shrinks the warehouse and the FBI's there. That's where I stopped at.
Okay, yeah, I just now got to. Well, we'll get to it. Okay, so the movie starts out with a baby Hope talking with Janet, who's played by Michelle Pfeiffer, who is now crossed over from the DC universe because she was Catwoman, right?
Yeah.
And everybody went nuts about her as Catwoman. Everybody was like, "Oh, I remember being in high school or whatever. Michelle Pfeiffer was the shit." Everyone was like, "Oh,
I think
hottest
she
chick
did
in the world."
something recently dressed as Catwoman. I think something of her cracking a whip in her Catwoman suit.
Really?
For something. I don't know exactly what it was, but I just know.
Does anybody remember? Was this a surprise casting when we see Michelle Pfeiffer at the beginning of this?
I don't know. I don't know if it was a surprise. I do know that when the first one came out, they didn't know who it was. We don't get a full glimpse of who she is when we get the tiny glimpse from the first film.
Right.
So I do know that the director said my vision is a Michelle Pfeiffer, so they never made it a secret.
Gotcha.
But none of us knew it was officially her until I think it was released that it was coming out in this movie, or she was coming out.
Yeah. And so they do such a great job with the age of Michael Douglas and her both.
Laurence Fishburne.
Yeah, when they show Michael Douglas young, man, I am always blown away because it looks just like it seems like all kinds of other movies are terrible at the aging process or whatever, but like Michelle Pfeiffer looked just like she did when she was young, and so did
Well,
he.
from what I understand, when they've been doing these, they've been compiling footage from their older movies, and actually putting them into whatever program they use. So it's like it's them, but like I saw they did it with Robert Redford and was it Civil War? Was it Civil War?
Oh yeah, they did it with him too, didn't they?
Winter Soldier, you mean?
Winter Soldier, yeah.
Well, it's amazing heck, even TikTok filters anymore and Instagram filters can do amazing work with
damn
aging.
AI.
It's crazy how fast all that's going. Anyway, so Baby Hope is talking with Janet and Hank Pym, saying she doesn't want them to go away, but Janet's so great with kids that she pretends to be a narcoleptic and makes her daughter laugh by making fun of narcoleptics and should be canceled for making fun of
She was talking about how
narcoleptics.
boring stuff would be and put him to sleep.
This is a very anti-narcoleptic movie.
It is not.
Anyway, they shrink down. But she says, "Oh, we got to go because they have to save the universe, basically." And then they shrink down to stop a missile from killing a bunch of people. But because Hank's regulator was broken, Janet had to shrink down to go to the quantum realm in order to go inside the missile to stop it. She knew she would never come back, but Hank recounts that when Scott returned from the quantum realm, he knew it might be possible to bring Janet back. So now maybe we can save her. Maybe she's alive. And he shows Hope the schematics for a quantum tunnel. And then the opening credits happen. So it's kind of like, well, since Scott came back, shit, anything's possible.
Yep. This is Janet Van Dyne, who is one of the founding Avengers in actual Marvel comic history. She's one of the original. She's
the original Wasp.
Yes. This
not,
was
not Hope. There is no Hope in the comics, right? Or there is. Or
there probably is now, but Hope Van Dyne was kind of a new character created since they weren't using Hank Pym as the main Ant-Man. But they wanted to tie him in, I guess, to make him the elder statesman there. So they kind of invented a way to have a younger Wasp while still having the Hank and Jan relationship that is so storied in the comics. Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Ernie Hart created her in Tales to Astonish number 44 in 1963. And that was her first appearance. And she was there was a lot of misogyny there in the early 60s with comics
you
there.
Don't say.
Believe it or not. Yeah. She was like a sort of a bubble-headed fashionista kind of thing, but her character has evolved quite a bit. And as she's led the Avengers, she's been really cool. And she's about to have a new series coming out now where she's sort of like a detective called Avengers Inc. I just saw a release for it where she's kind of the cover star, and that's pretty cool.
Okay. That's a new comic book, you said?
Yeah. I'm still on some press lists, and so I get when Marvel has a new comic series coming out, I usually get the press release for it.
So in the comics, this is not Jan, this is Hope. She's known as Hope Pym.
Oh.
And she was a part of her first appearance was in Anex number 7 in April of 1999.
Oh yeah, that brings up a good question. Why is she Hope Van Dyne and not Hope Pym? Is it because that, like TBJ said, the relationship with her father was bad, or?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it
Beginning.
is. Because if you remember the first movie, some of the people she's working with don't know that's her dad. She did that intentionally.
Oh, right.
And there's in the comics, there's a Nadia Van Dyne who is uh, Janet's stepdaughter.
And also in the comics, she has a twin brother named Henry, aka Big Man.
Like little Hank, like Hank Jr.
Henry Pym Jr. Yeah. I don't call
So
him
if there's a
Hank.
step, if she is a step,
Because Hank Pym in the comics had a first wife named
oh,
Maria, who died and hasn't been explored all that much, I believe. So this is their daughter. The daughter of Hank and Maria Pym, Nadia, was raised as an assassin of the Red Room, which is to train Black Widow. So there's a few different versions of Wasp and Giant Mans and Ant Mans and shrinky, growy people going around, including Laurence Fishburne's
Growy
character,
people.
Bill Foster, who
yeah, we're gonna
We'll
get to
get
Bill
to-
Foster, so we'll
we'll
get
get
to
We're
him.
actually getting a Goliath action figure from What If of Bill Foster.
Did you just
Ah.
spoiler alert that he's Goliath? Did you just spoil that?
well, he hasn't been Goliath in the movies at all. He just
Oh,
sort of
But that's who Bill Foster is.
yeah.
Well, that
He
saves
actually
that question.
Bill Foster was originally I
Cow-
just looked it up.
Cowboy Curtis.
Bill Foster was 1966, Avengers number 32, Stan Lee and Don Hank. He was just a lab assistant for Hank Pym.
Right.
But then in 1975, Tony Isabella and George Tuska changed him around a bit when they were writing Luke Cage Power Man. And they gave him his own Pym particles and made him Black Goliath. Because in the 70s, it was like the
Wait, who's Black
blaxploitation
Goliath?
thing was
Bill
going around.
Foster is?
Bill Foster is Black Goliath. He started as that, and then he
started in the
eventually
Luke
just
Cage, okay.
he dropped that and just became Goliath.
Okay.
But
And like a go ahead.
nah, just saying,
No, we're waiting for you.
it was the blaxploitation craze at the
Mhm.
time, you know,
Oh.
Shaft, Superfly, all that stuff.
Yeah, so I watched Milestone Generation, and I remember Andy, you had talked about when we were talking about Black Lightning, and like
Mhm.
how when he puts his costume on, his mask has an afro in it, and they was they was really talking about that and like the whole blaxploitation thing. Like I remember Andy was talking about this on the podcast.
So when he takes his mask off, the afro goes away?
Yeah, but he has like a lower cut, but it's like when he has it on, it's just like it's a really big afro.
His hair gets bigger.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, yeah, cool. Somebody was
But,
making a point.
They
about something?
Lawrence Fishburne basically they sort
Yeah.
of pay lip service to this by saying like when he worked with Hank Pym, like he also grew big before as well, like when they were experimenting with size changing. Like he was Goliath. That's a sort
so
of
that little combo they have about how tall did you get? Oh, I got
Yeah.
65 feet. That's in relation to Goliath. Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. They've both been big guys.
and
whatever.
there's hope at some point that we may eventually see a giant Lawrence Fishburne.
That'd be great.
Well, in animated form though, probably.
Maybe, yeah.
Because no, not maybe. He's actually in What If season 2.
Oh, okay.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, Bill Foster is.
And there's an action figure coming out of this. Well, you don't see him out as bad though. It's basically looks like a blue version of Ant-Man.
But is it going to
Okay.
look like Lawrence Fishburne? Are they going to make it look like his face?
Unless they come with another. I don't know if it comes with a head other than the Goliath head.
Yeah.
But maybe. I mean, they have Lewis. There's a figure of him. We got Happy Hogan, so you never know. We got what's the guy name?
Wait. Is
You mean
there
Luis?
is there a picture of Luis
It is.
or a action figure of Luis?
Yeah, Luis. Yeah. What's the movie we just the Wakanda Forever guy? What's his name? Why can't I think of his name? Everett Ross. There's an Everett Ross figure.
Oh my God, there's a Legends pack with
Yeah.
the Ghost and Luis in it. Oh my
I
God.
think it's like $50 or something like that.
Oh man.
Well,
I
I
want
just
an action-
realized I
'Cause
want a
it came-
Cowboy Curtis action figure
It
now.
came out the same time as the Happy Hogan with the cheeseburger and somebody else was in his pack. I forgot who came with him.
All right, now I gotta look that up.
I see a Cowboy Curtis action figure, which would be Lawrence Fishburne, but it doesn't look anything like Lawrence Fishburne. So I'm kind of
Maybe
mad about
was
it.
it Super 7?
No, it's an old vintage one. You can get it with
Oh.
Globey for $22.
R.I.P. Pee Wee.
Yeah, R.I.P. Yeah, Pee Wee Herman's dead, man. I'm not good with that, man.
That doesn't make
It
a
was
lot
a
of
week
sense.
of a lot of deaths. We
Yeah.
had quite a few.
Yeah, who was the? There was a couple other ones.
The young actor Angus from
Cloud.
Euphoria.
Angus
Is
Cloud.
it Angus? Yep.
Yeah, Angus Cloud.
Yeah, and then Pee Wee, and then Tony Curtis. Not Tony Curtis.
Somebody else in this last week. I can't remember who.
Yeah, Sinead O'Connor a couple weeks ago.
Mhm.
Somebody else just died suddenly. It's just like been like, that's crazy.
Yes.
Anyway, let's focus.
Scott makes an elaborate adventure game with Cassie to keep her entertained while he's on house arrest. And Luis, who's trying to run his new business, is stressed while Scott's having a bunch of fun, trying to land a big account. And Scott's the security expert. So he's like, too many cameras? I was like, no, not too many cameras. We're going to get to the account. But meanwhile, he's doing all this elaborate fun stuff that he did for his daughter, which is fun. Then they slide down the thing and he accidentally trips the ankle alarm when his foot goes through the fence. And then Randall Park shows up with a funny bit about close-up magic and all that.
And if you remember, he's on house arrest because he helped Captain America's team during Civil War.
Yeah,
Also,
so-
fun fact, real quick, Paul Rudd did actually learn the close-up magic. It was not just for it wasn't just a sleight of hand on the
Ooh.
film's part. It was actually him learning it for his role, which I think is cute.
That's
Did
a good
Randall
little
Park
bit of
learn
trivia.
his?
What's that?
I don't know if Randall Park did. I was only paying attention to Paul.
I was
And
wondering
so
maybe
did
get
you-
started on around the rabbit hole of
Let's say,
finding
do
out.
you have a reference for that? Did you see an interview on Arsenio Hall, or was it
You're asking me. No, he talked about it. He talked about it before.
to you?
Yes, very much to me.
Pillow
Paul
talk?
Rudd and I have special conversations all the time.
Pillow
Like
talk?
you and Don Cheadle. Mhm.
Yeah. TJ and Paul Rudd are having pillow talk.
I hear Paul Rudd is playing a villain in what's that Hulu show with Steve Martin and Martin Short.
Don't tell me
Only
spoilers of
murderers
that.
in the
I haven't.
building.
Only
I've only
murders in
watched
the
the
building.
first season.
I
I've only
just
watched
started
the first
watching
season.
that. I'm watching that with my daughter because she likes Amila Gomez.
Selena Gomez.
Selena Gomez. I can't talk, man. Samila. I was trying to say Mila Kunis and Selena Gomez at the same time. I don't know why Mila Kunis, but except that I love Mila Kunis.
It's probably because you're a dumb idiot.
You're the dumb idiot. All right.
No,
So anyway,
you're a dumb idiot.
so no, you're the dummy. No, you're the dummy. Randall Park's hilarious, and I love when he's like, "Can I ask you a serious question? How'd you learn that close up, man? How'd you do that trick?" Randall Park's so great.
Jimmy Woo.
Jimmy Woo,
who we
yeah.
maybe remember seeing in WandaVision. I believe this was his first appearance in the
Also,
MCU.
can
Was
I-
this movie?
I got
So
it now.
this was before that.
I got
right?
it now.
But-
You know.
Yeah.
I got it now. You know.
Okay, what's it now? You know.
You might not really give a shit, but I just recently found out that Darcy Lewis got introduced into the Marvel comics,
Yeah.
and she's also shows up in Scarlet Witch's new series.
I see.
In the
Kat
comics.
Kat Dennings character.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, which I, as a male, found kind of problematic. You know.
Oh, what do you mean?
There's this one shot of her where I guess she's like her, Quicksilver, and Wanda. And of course, this Darcy Lewis character has on a low cut top, and it's just like a whole, like the panel is just like a close up of her cleavage. And I was like, really? Like, we get it, Kat Dennings. But did you have to carry it over into the comics?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I have to see what the context was in that, but it's probably, comic
It
books.
was almost like, here you go. Well, I just watched this one video where they were talking about like the sexification of like anime characters, and like how, the men will be like some boring drab men, and all of these super hot, sexy, supposedly women fall for, but then the ones who aren't super hot, sexy, they're not as popular. Or they don't have, like, their roles are kind of diminished.
I think they know their audience. Weird, creepy guys that sit alone and.
Well, it's a lot of women who it's there.
Yeah, there's a
all
lot of
this stuff,
women.
I feel like there's probably more women who are into anime than men.
Oh, we're talking anime. Sorry, I was thinking about not what I was thinking about.
What you thinking about, Jeff?
I was thinking about just regular comics, but I'm kind of distracted because I'm looking through IMDb because I swear Jimmy Woo was in the first Ant-Man, but no,
I don't think he was.
I guess not.
Yeah, I don't remember him in that.
But I mean, I feel like we already, but maybe it's because I watched.
We talked about WandaVision, so we talked about Jimmy Woo a lot
so we
before.
talked about
and
him a lot, but
he was created in 1956 in a problematic series called Yellow Claw. And you might be able
What's
to imagine.
not problematic from that time period.
Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
But he was,
I don't know why. I just feel like we. I mean, this whole time watching this movie,
We've talked about him a lot.
Yeah.
And you also got to realize, Joe, like
talked about him a lot.
We're starting to get closer to like stuff that we've already reviewed and talked about, but then also like you didn't know shit about at the time. So now like you're watching these things, like, oh wait, why do I know this guy? So
I feel like we talked
already.
So we talked about Jimmy Woo so much because I guess because he's integral in WandaVision is probably why we talked.
Yeah, he's a big part of WandaVision, and I had a lot to say about him because I was an Agents of Atlas fan. And
that's right.
I was hoping they introduced that.
I still want to read that because of that.
It's got a gorilla man in it.
So Joe, you read comics on Hoopla, right?
Yeah. So I'm in. I'm pretty far into. Sorry.
Have you been having a problem borrowing books from Hoopla?
No, but I will preface that with the fact that I get one at a time and I take forever.
Well, even if I try to get one now, it'll say something about
I have to recheck out the same one.
Or something.
Oh, really? I have to recheck out the same.
Well, there's two kinds of books on Hoopla. If they have the lightning rod above them, you're only allowed to get 3 of those per month. Those are instant hits. If they have the little semicircle with the arrow, you can get those as many times. So if you've done 3 of the lightning bolts,
I've done none. That's the thing. I've done none. And I'm wondering
in this whole month, it thinks you have.
My brain is thinking like maybe it's just Charmac, because you guys aren't using Charmac, right?
No, I'm in Union.
So maybe it's just Charmac this.
But Charlotte, Mecklenburg County.
That might be. Yeah.
Wait, we're the Queen City Podcast Network, so.
Yeah, we're in Union, so I don't know if that's different but I only check out one at a time because my brain can only handle. And then I've checked out the same one like 3 times because I run out of my 30 days. I'm like, shit.
So are you getting like you must be getting like 400-page books.
Yeah, I'm getting those the Secret Wars like compilation ones. It's like 1,000 pages.
Yes, that's where you go wrong at. They don't have them broken up in like volume 1, 2.
They do. 3. I mean, they have them by like 1,000 pages, but they have like I don't know how many comic books in one volume. So
because usually when they have a book with like
issue,
the volumes are usually only like 5 or 6 issues at a time.
Yeah, this one is
like you're reading you're reading omnibuses or something. Because like if you have 1,000 pages, unless you're reading on your phone.
I am reading on my phone. I'm sometimes reading on my phone, sometimes reading on the computer.
Because I know like if you read an ebook or something like that on your phone, it populates a lot of pages as opposed to like the bigger your screen, the less pages.
Oh, that might be why I only can see the page numbers on my phone and it says like 1,000. It doesn't show page numbers on the computer.
You're using your phone,
that's why. Yeah, because there's just one panel per page, so I guess they're not that many. But
but still, the fact that it takes you that long.
I'm just like little at a time, and a lot of times I'm doing other stuff, so I'm like,
I get
it's like, oh fuck, I forgot I was reading that, and so it's like, just if I don't have. Oh no, this one's 368 pages, so it's not that many. So just but it's zoomed out. So anyway, like if I don't have a movie that I gotta currently watch for Nerd School, if I don't have 800 podcasts to edit, if I don't have 100 shows to settle or a nerdy night show to do or a comedy festival to kind of try to figure out what the fuck I'm doing with.
Or watching X-Men X-Men's
great, man. That's teaching me so much, that cartoon. I'm learning so many characters and stuff. The whole thing is great. And then the Phoenix Saga right now, learning all about that.
There you go. Yeah.
So
Classic X-Men stories.
yeah, it's kind of working out well because I keep hearing these rumors of the X-Men joining the MCU.
Yeah, that's in the offing.
It seems imminent, right?
Well, it's not a rumor. It's just we don't know when.
And we don't know
Yeah.
who, or we do know who.
Well, we know.
Well, so far we've had Ms. Marvel has been declared a mutant at the end of her series. Spoiler.
Namor.
Namor, the Submariner in Wakanda Forever, I believe was also referred to as a mutant. It's the first time they've used the term mutant.
So mutant
In the
equals
MCU.
X-Men equals
But yeah,
X-Men.
basically.
Like you can't have mutants in a thing
from-
without X-Men coming
The
in. Right?
the rumor that I've heard is they're trying to figure out, are they actually going to call them X-Men? Like, like if they're trying to separate from Fox, even though that Fox no longer has them, like, are they going to still go with like the X-Men title, which is why there's like an untitled X-Men movie coming out at some point in time in the MCU. But you have like there's also been a rumor that you would probably love, Joe, is that they're talking about Taylor Swift as Dazzler.
Well,
I
I
have
just
heard that.
funny you say it because the episode I just saw of X-Men introduced Dazzler, and she was singing at a nightclub, and Cyclops goes up to her, and they're kind of flirty because Jean Grey is possessed by the Phoenix and is like, out to lunch. So he's kind of like moving on with her, whatever.
Out to lunch.
Well, she is. She's like, and then the Firebird or what takes over. It's like, go out with another woman. How dare you? He's like, no, I got to check out Dazzler.
Phoenix Force.
Yeah, so I could see it being Taylor Swift. That would be. She'd be a great Dazzler. I know who Dazzler is because of
Yeah.
that.
I always felt Dazzler was more pop starry, like probably like a Katy Perry kind of bubblegum sort of thing.
But so far, I can't tell what Dazzler's power is different than Jubilee. Like they both shoot fancy stars. and stuff.
Dazzler's deal was that she could absorb sound and turn it to light.
Absorb sound
And
and turn it to
light.
light. Why would you
But
want to do
She
that?
could also call it hard light, so she could like shoot lasers of concussive force.
Doesn't she also make everyone's power 3 at a location?
No.
Isn't that what she does?
That's what Valkyrie does.
Oh,
in
Valkyrie.
Marvel Snap.
We can't do that because Andy doesn't like Snap Talk.
Andy doesn't
Yeah.
like Snap Talk, and TBJ has no
Fuck.
fucking idea what we're talking about.
Nope, none whatsoever.
right.
Stupid Snap. Oh, one more Snap thing, real quick. I
Okay.
had a dude today. I'm telling you, it was probably 8 minutes. Dude beat me, and we just flipped each other off with Daredevil like for like 15 minutes, and we just kept doing it. I'm not leaving if you're not leaving, and we're just like
wow.
flipping each other off. I'm confident. Fuck you.
You know,
I'm
in
confident.
MLB, the show had this thing called a freeze off, where like let's say the network connection stops or something.
Yeah.
So now it says you either lost connection or it says you've lost connection and asks you, do you want to friendly quit with this person? So like if you're in ranked, if
Yeah.
you friendly quit, you get a loss. So there have been people who will sit there and it'll be like two guys, like one guy and girl halfway around the world, they're just sitting there and no one is exiting out the game because they do not want that loss. Like
But they don't want to
they'll
concede.
sit there for hours just so they don't get that loss. You know?
So this guy had clearly beat me, and I just totally fucked up. But I was mad about it, and he just stayed there, like flipping me off, like making fun of me for losing. I was like, you know what? Fuck you. Fuck you. I'm confident, even though he whooped my ass. His name was Tony, and we just spent 15 minutes flipping each other off in the game. It was great. It was a lot of fun. Anyway,
That movie,
You're
Antman and the
ridiculous.
Wasp, pretty good movie.
Yeah. Where were we at?
Randall Park.
Randall Park. Yeah, he's
lost my
a
finger.
funny
Doesn't it
actor.
seem like how crazy we got so far away from Joe going, man, I swear we talked about this guy before.
Yeah.
10 minutes later.
yeah,
Something
Randall Park,
completely-
close up magic, and then we established that Hank and Hope hate his guts, in the scene because he's like, "Oh yeah, they hate your guts," and
Because
he's
of the
not allowed
Civil
to have
War
any.
fallout.
He's a good thing they hate you because you can't have any contact with them. And then we established he's got 3 days left till he's off of his house arrest. All you got to do is, not do anything. And then we get the montage of what he's doing to keep himself busy. Karaoke, crying while reading The Fault in Our Stars, learning drums. And this made me think, I wouldn't mind being on house arrest. I don't want to go anywhere. Like, I'm at a point in my life. Pandemic changed me. I don't know. I think that's what made me like this. Like, I don't need to go anywhere. I'm good. I am good.
I'm good, bro.
Right
So now
here.
you're identifying with your son who doesn't want to go to college or go out and do anything.
Yeah, I know. Of course he doesn't want. I get why he doesn't want to go. He should want to. He's young and full of vigor.
No.
It took you a minute to come up with that.
Young, dumb, and full of, what they say. But I want to be on house arrest. Anyway, then he has the weird dream that he is Michelle Pfeiffer. And then so he reaches in this wall and gets a cell phone out and calls and leaves a message for Hank, tells him about the dream, apologizes to him. And then we cut to him. I got a little trivia for you guys, you super nerds. They cut to him watching a movie, eating cereal. What cereal is he eating, and what's the movie?
Lucky.
I did not pay that close attention.
I can't remember.
Okay, the cereal
I
I
just watched it.
I didn't see. I didn't see what the cereal was. But what's the movie in the background? It's got Donald Sutherland in it, and they're talking
Body
about.
Snatchers.
Well, they say that means the quote is from the movie that he's watching in the background. That means that one tiny atom in my fingernail could be, to which Donald Sutherland's character says, one tiny little universe. And so I didn't know what it was either. I was like, what is this? So I had to Google that line to figure it out. Nobody knows?
Nope.
It was Animal House.
Animal House.
Scene where they're getting stoned with the professor and they're talking about science or whatever. So but they're talking about the tiny little thing. And then he gets bit by a bug. But then we found out it was not a bug that bit him, because the next scene he's out cold in the passenger seat of a car while we hear Spooky by Dusty Springfield playing on the radio. And then Hope is driving a Matchbox car, and an ant is wearing his anklet, eating Fruit Loops, mimicking his daily routine. So it's probably Fruit Loops, including 2 hours in the bathroom, whatever that's about, she says. And then we see giant pigeons and the garbage truck that they drive under. Then they pull up to the lab. And so I think the lab whole thing is like, really? Nobody notices the whole building disappear and then come back up? Suspension of disbelief, though, because it's fun. It's like
Well,
Honey,
I
I
mean,
Shrunk the
we
Kid.
just don't see anybody, but people could they could write that in like, oh, by the way, we kept noticing shit shrinking.
This building disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, inside the lab, they explain that they built the quantum tunnel and they opened the gateway briefly, and moments later, Scott called. So he may have entangled with Hank's wife, which he said, I respect you too much. I would never do that. I would never entangle with her. They're like, no, quantum entanglement, you dumbass. But then they figure out
quantum in front of everything.
Yeah. So they figured out she may have sent a message. It may be her sending a message because they figured out the red wardrobe had horses on it. That's where I always hid. Doesn't sound like you got the gist of the game. Hide and seek. It was just funny. That was a funny rip on the little girl that didn't know how to. Well, why'd you hide in the same goddamn place every time? Anyway, they need some part. They need some part to keep the tunnel from overloading, apparently. So somebody named Burch has it.
Simon Burch. Created in 2003 in Iron Man Volume 3, number 73 by John Jackson Miller, Jorge Lucas, and Philip Tan.
He was originally an Iron Man, huh? And did he look like this guy, or was he different?
He looked different. He had glasses. And he was pudgy. He's just like a low level schmuck in Cross Technologies. Darren Cross, if you remember the first movie.
From the first one, the bald guy. Yeah, Yellow Jacket.
Sonny Burch was the chairman of Cross Technologies, weapons designer firm.
Oh. Okay. Well, this is the cool part because they grab that Hot Wheel carrying case bit, which is so cool. I remember kids had that in
Yeah.
the neighborhood, and I was jealous, and I even paused it to look at all the cars. I was like, oh, let's see what cars they have in there. Thought maybe they would slip in something like a Daisy Duke Jeep or something, which there is a white Jeep, so it could be. But I didn't see anything really that exciting. Then they shrink the building, and then we see Ghost.
Oh, it's a quantum stabilizer, Joe. That's what they was trying to get.
The quantum stabilizers, what they were trying to, the part that they were missing.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get to all the. I wrote down some of that mumbo jumbo in a minute, a little bit later, but not at this point. I didn't write it down yet. But so we see that Ghost, and then the little no Altoids bit for you. Hey, can I have one of those? No, you can't. No Altoids for you. And then we get to the Simon Burch scene where he's waiting for her, and then he reveals to Hope that he knows who she is. And you've been lying to me. We got to have trust and all this shit. So he doesn't give her the component, and then he keeps her money. He offers her $1 billion for the lab. She says no, but he keeps the money and for his injured feelings. Then she turns into the Wasp and kicks his ass, kicks the shit out of all the henchmen. We have the cool shrinky growy scene with a giant salt shaker and running down the knives as they're getting thrown, which is really cool and fun.
Yeah. That's where this movie is best, when it's doing really crazy, fun stuff. Like later you get giant Pez dispensers and all like the up and down shrinky car chase stuff.
Shrinky growy.
Yeah, it's a lot of imaginationables, and I like it.
Yeah, like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but action packed.
Yep.
And
also when Luis is telling stories.
Yeah, Luis is the best. The storytelling is great.
Yeah.
She makes quick work of the henchmen, but Ghost shows up. And there's a cool battle with her phasing and Hope getting small and big and shrinky growy, and but Ghost disappears and ends up stealing the lab from the guy in the Billy Ocean Going Gets Tough video, Hank Pym.
Can I make a note that I'm sure Andy has this written down, but Ghost is OG male in the comics.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I did want to talk about
And
that.
this is the first time that we have the bad guy, quote unquote, be a woman
Yeah.
in the Marvel film. We ain't got to Agatha yet. So
Sure, yeah, because this is
This-
before WandaVision, yeah.
Is it really? Well, I guess we had
Yeah, because
like
WandaVision was
the
in phase
bad
4.
guy. Yeah. I mean, we had
Like-
what's her nuts in Proxima Midnight and Infinity War, but
We got
she's
Hela.
henchman.
And Hela.
that's true. How about we say non-family bad guy?
Let's qualify it.
Non-sibling related. Listen, Hella had some family issues, okay?
She had hella family issues.
She had hella family
fuck you.
issues.
So
F you.
I do want to talk about this though. Ghost was like historically a
Yeah.
male.
Yeah,
character?
Ghost originally appeared in Iron Man number 219 in 1987, created by David Michelini and Bob Layton.
Okay.
And
Thunderbolts.
his real name has not ever been revealed. He's sort of like this the story that he at least told in the Thunderbolts series that I read and liked was that he was sort of a computer programmer kind of guy who was creating a lot of software for this corporate entity called Omnisapient, and he was about to he was like sort of a loner, but he was able to be manipulated. Like the company hired a girlfriend for him, unbeknownst to him, that
Like a
manipulated him.
prostitute?
Basically, it was a woman who like he was going to go on vacation and do some stuff, and like they wanted him to keep working, so they started manipulating his life and his emotions and stuff to try to get him on board to keep producing all the technology that they wanted, until he eventually discovered that like she had died, and he was heartbroken about it. And then he found out that she was hired to be his girlfriend by the company, and then the only reason then they killed her because she was trying to blackmail them for more money.
Yeesh.
And so that's all. This was kind of helped form his basic deal was like he was an Iron Man villain, and in the 80s Iron Man was basically, you know, captain of industry, weapon salesman kind of guy, or like the huge
Industrialist.
business super rich tycoon guy. And so the character was kind of created as an anti-corporate, anti-capitalist saboteur. Like he would
Okay.
he was always trying to sabotage things, and like sometimes he'd hire out to other people, but he was always with the goal of destroying corporate society and capitalism in general.
Huh.
And then the whole backstory thing wasn't really told until he was in a Thunderbolts run that I was reading in like
Dark Reign.
around 2010ish, around there.
The
it was-
heroic age, right?
yeah, something like that.
So the
Luke-
Thunderbolts.
yeah.
I know you've
Thunderbolts-
meant. I feel like you
so
guys
you
have
should-
mentioned. Yeah, go ahead. Art.
You should bookmark this convo right here in
Yeah.
your head,
Yeah.
because this right here kind of is the reason why Ghost. And I don't know if you've seen the Thunderbolts sign up, but kind of the reason why Ghost is a part of the Thunderbolts.
No, so I wanted to ask you, like, let's do a quick sidetrack here. Like, explain to me Thunderbolts. I know you have before a little bit, and I always get confused with Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do with Thunderbolt Ross. Thunderbolts are good
well,
guys or bad guys. And
okay.
What's the deal?
Here, I'll do the bullet points so we don't get too up front of the weeds.
Yeah, just a quick
Uh,
overview, because I know you talked about them, but I was just like, said it was too much. And it's always like when we're talking about
It's still
800
gonna-
things
It's
and we
going to
talk
be
about
too
it.
much right now.
Yeah. All right. So there was a stunt in the 90s where all the non-mutant heroes were shuttled off to another dimension. Only the X-Men were around. So all the other hero groups like Fantastic Four and the
Sure.
Avengers were
Yep.
all
Whatever. Yep.
shuttled away to another dimension for some reason. Basically, it was a stunt to get like all the popular image creators and stuff to sort of I think it was an early attempt to streamline their origins and whatever, and try to make them more
What
movie-friendly.
type of
Liefeld was one of them.
like when is this? Like the 90s?
This
the
is
2000s?
the 90s. I think the latest 90s, mid to
Okay.
late 90s. But then, so in the Marvel universe, there were no big superhero teams. There were just the X-Men, and the X-Men have like a very strained relationship with the public because everyone hates and fears them and all that.
Right.
So then there was this new team of superheroes that show up out of nowhere. One of them is Citizen V, who was an old Golden Age hero, and there was a handful of other new characters. It's like, oh, here's the new superhero team we're going to launch. It's called the Thunderbolts. They're awesome. They're justice like lightning.
Okay.
And then at the end of the first issue, it turned out the big twist was that they were secretly Baron Zemo and the Masters of Evil in disguise as heroes.
Oh,
And-
so
and it
Thunderbolts were
completely- yeah.
not even real
Right.
characters.
And comic book nerds did not see that coming, and everyone was like, "Oh wow, you surprised us!" Because we're nerds. We usually see.
But
everything
they weren't
coming."
angry. They were happy. They
Oh
loved
yeah,
it.
they thought it was really cool. It was
So
a
those-
great way to get him.
So all the Thunderbolts were just alter egos of villains.
Yes, and their big plan involved masquerading as heroes and getting access to things that they could use to conquer /
And so
save the world.
Ghost was one of them or not?
Ghost was not in there at this point.
Gotcha.
Then the rest of the Masters of Evil, most of them anyway, decided they kind of liked being heroes, so they sort of turned against Baron Zemo, and it kind of broke up, and then they became
Huh.
this sort of
Interesting.
fledgling hero team. Like Hawkeye became their leader for a while to try to make sure that they
Fucking
stayed on
Hawkeye.
the right.
That guy
Yeah.
sucks. You lost me at Hawkeye.
Well, that was only temporary, and then like through the ages, through the years, they've basically sort of been depending on who runs them. Sometimes they're bad, because there was a time when Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, was running them, and just
Yeah.
as like this sort of dark, half-assed Dark Avengers sort of team, where he just used them for manipulate them. And then there was other times where like guys like Luke Cage were running them, and they were there was basically a rehabilitation house for supervillains. Like any supervillain could work off their sentence, sort of Suicide Squad-ish.
Okay.
If you do some work for the Thunderbolts,
Force X.
it's like
Excelsior.
time off your sentence and things like that. And that was always a little thing. And then there was a period of time when Thunderbolt Ross actually did run them.
Oh,
And
okay. So
when he-
Thunderbolt.
what
What?
yeah,
which
yeah,
I think they're probably going to be the basis for the
yeah.
Thunderbolts movie.
There was
Oh,
it was
because
like when he
Thunderbolt
was the Red
Ross is
Hulk.
pissed
Yeah,
off at the Avengers right now in the MCU, right?
yeah,
We're doing all this shit, so he's gonna go get his own Thunderbolts and bring.
yeah.
those
Basically,
in?
trying to create his own Avengers team with John Walker, U.S. Agent,
Oh.
Bucky,
So-
Winter Soldier.
So
That's
these
the
guys,
movie version is there, but
Yeah.
in the comics, Thunderbolt
Yeah.
Ross did run them for a while, and it included like the Punisher and Venom
w-
and Deadpool.
but was are these guys in the movie called Thunderbolts? Did he call?
The movie is called Thunderbolts, and the lineup, as we've seen in the movie posters, involves Ghost, which is the first time we've seen her since
Since
this
this.
film. Since this film,
And is this actress who plays Ghost? Is she famous? She's British or something? Is she really British?
I would
Anybody know her?
assume so.
Is she famous? Like I don't. She's beautiful, but I didn't know if she's like
Let's look
I
her
don't
up.
know, known for Broadway.
I
you
don't
know, or some
necessarily.
shit.
I don't know her. She hasn't hit my
Hannah
radar.
John Kamen, perhaps.
Okay,
she
so
was
she's
in,
unknown. So she's a relatively.
She was in
unknown.
Ready Player One, the Steven Spielberg movie.
Anybody see that?
In the sci-fi television series Killjoys.
Was Ready
And-
Player One any good, Art Star?
It was a great
It
book.
was?
Too. You should read the book first, though.
Oh god damn it! I don't have
She's,
time for this.
Jill Valentine in the film Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City.
You mean Scott Valentine?
No, that's Mallory's boyfriend from Family Ties.
Yes. Mallory.
She was in. She did work on the West End musical theater in lead role of Viva in the Spice
See?
Girls themed West End musical Viva Forever.
That's it. She reminds me of a Spice Girl.
Okay, so the Thunderbolts lineup is Ghost, Red Guardian, Yelena, Bucky, U.S. Agent, Taskmaster, and Contessa.
Okay.
Oh, Julie Louis-Dreyfus.
And do all of these people end up being bad villains?
We'll find out.
Yeah,
It's like two people from the Black Widow movie. It's Ghost. It's
Wait, this is a movie that's coming out in the MCU?
Yeah.
Oh
Supposed
shit.
to be,
When's this?
supposed to be next Christmas Eve.
Will we ever
Totally.
catch up to like real time?
No,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
If TJ thinks so.
I don't
Yeah.
I think we will.
We
I
could,
mean,
because like the next phase only has 7 movies, and we've done like 3 of the 6. I don't know if we're going to be doing like WandaVision, and if I guess
We already did that.
we
I
already
guess-
did them.
Yeah, so it's like I don't think we'll be doing it. And then like the other 3 series we hadn't touched on, so it's like we only have 7 movies, so we probably could get cut.
Well,
with the
especially if they
delays-
slow down, because isn't the rumor
well,
that
they've been
slowing down?
slowing down, but then there's also delays and them pushing stuff back. So
Well, the writer's
No,
strike is
yeah,
not
we
Yeah.
could,
helping.
yeah.
Yeah. Depending on how long that goes. And you know, while we're talking about it, I know we're in the middle of the movie, but we're getting close to probably wrapping up. But I keep seeing headlines, and I know I always I know I'm only reading the headline. A lot of times I'm not reading. A lot of it's clickbait bullshit, so I can't even find the story past all the garbage. But it's like I keep seeing these things about Disney blows MCU another blow, and deals MCU another blow, or shuts down MCU for good, and Disney's canceling everything and getting rid of everything on Disney Plus and all this shit. Like, is there real like shit going down, or is that all just clickbait stuff?
Clickbait is. There's a lot of
Definitely
clickbait bullshit.
Yeah.
And there's a
think
lot of
clickbait is
like
like-
negative Nancy nerds that are just yelling about every little thing.
Yeah.
and it's also like to me it feels like op-ed shit, right? So like let me give my opinion on this by prefacing it with, "Oh yeah, this is not going to happen," you know.
Yeah, speaking as a guy who had to write a lot of this shit in the past, there's a lot of like you're looking for content, you get paid by the article you write. So if one minor thing happens in the news, sometimes it's like, all right, here's the thing, and then you extrapolate. Why does this matter? Or what are you mad about this? Why you should be mad about this?
yeah.
Because that'll give you more clicks because you're trying to drive engagement. It's all there's a lot of horse shit. So I kind of tune all that shit out
Well, horse
as much
shit.
as possible.
Yeah, I mean, and I am not helping by clicking on these things and reading them because like I read a whole article. I can't believe I read the whole thing before bed.
You need
last
to
night.
learn to kind of discern from like, okay, the first few lines, like, okay, this sounds like a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
Let me not read it
few
anymore.
like sites that are out there. I've seen. I keep trying to hide them up from my feed, and they keep showing up.
Yeah, they keep showing
Where
up in
it's just very obvious, like here's the new trailer for Deadpool 3 or whatever, and then it's not.
yeah,
just-
it's not in there.
They'll
It's
just either do a fake trailer or they'll do. We'll take like that one picture that we've seen of Hugh Jackman and Deadpool walking together, and then just build shit around that.
Yeah, they have a new one I seen now where they show actually Hugh Jackman with the mask on. Like it's the shot, but he has the mask on his head. Like we have our first picture of Wolverine with this mask on, and like it's zoomed all the way in, and it's like the exact same shot of him and Deadpool walking, but it's just him.
Yeah, they
Now he
photoshopped
has
the mask on.
Yeah.
I read a
It's-
whole
it's
article
so
that
much
was
bullshit.
it was like see why Hulk Hogan cried at his birthday party. And then I was like,
Yeah.
and then I had read the whole thing. I was like, why the fuck did he cry at his birthday?
And
The whole thing was just like he was
even with,
moved.
like
They bought him
usually
a
stuff
cake.
like that. Like especially looking at like you're going through your feed. Like sometimes you can just glance at the website name and be like, yeah, I've never really heard of this website.
Yeah,
This might be bullshit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you should probably be, I probably shouldn't click on this because
Yes.
now I'm accepting cookies. And now
Yes.
all of a sudden, like, what is this bullshit up? Everything's popping up stupid. Like your search feed is like you searching spam, and then before you know it,
Yeah.
you get like
You're fucking
shit.
screwed.
shit
Yeah,
you
that's
ain't looking
it's so much dumb bullshit. in
Anyway,
the-
back
in
to
the
Michael
nerdosphere.
Douglas.
Listen,
Michael
real quick,
Douglas in a
Listen,
Billy
real
Ocean
quick.
video.
If you want nerd news,
yeah.
you want to use CBR,
Yeah, I
Comic
got
book
it on
resources.
CBR one. Yeah, yeah. What's it?
BGR,
What'd you say?
What do these stand
PGR.
for? CBR and PGR?
CBR is
B.
comic book resources.
What's PGR?
BGR, B as in
Oh.
boy.
I don't know what BGR is. I've not heard of that one.
They do
Big
do a lot-
gonad
yeah,
resources.
Big
Oh.
gonad resources.
Anyway, Hank Pym was
Pym-
in Billy Ocean's Going Gets Tough video.
I don't know what you're talking about there. Is he wearing a white coat?
No, Michael Douglas is in that video.
Oh, because it's from Romancing the Stone.
Yeah, I think so. Going Gets Tough. The tough kid.
With Kathleen Turner and I think Danny DeVito.
Anyway, the ghost steals the lab and they decide to go somewhere safe to regroup and figure out where the fuck the lab is. They can't figure out where to go, so they end up at the offices of XCon, the security business, and then we get the argument about pastries versus oatmeal packets.
It's my favorite crew ever. To be
Yeah.
It breaks your teeth. That's an insult. You know, what do we have for breakfast?
And the
And
guy
then-
talks about the Baba Yaga,
Baba Yaga.
Baba
Yeah, we get
Yaga.
the witch of
Before
Yor.
that, we get a quick argument about Scotty's desk. They give him a shitty desk in the corner. It's a card table. And then we hear the story of Baba Yaga, the witch, and they talk about phasing.
And Baba Yaga is also a villain in Hellboy comics, by the way.
Ooh, I was wondering if that would be some kind of
Yeah.
something.
Mhm.
And then
But it's also folklore.
we figure out that since the lab emits radiation, Hope asks Hank if they could possibly, modify a quantum spectrometer and track it. But since all of his equipment is in the lab, there's only one person who can help, Bill Foster, his old friend from S.H.I.E.L.D. But they had a falling out, so
Yes.
they're not sure. And then we see Ghost in her cell, like she's got to go sleep in a chamber in order to not disappear, I guess. And then we meet Bill Foster, Cowboy Curtis, and that's where Cowboy Curtis says he might be able to improvise. You guys might be able to improvise that tracker if you modify the diffraction units on one of your regulators. But Jimmy Woo shows up and they got to leave. And Hope's like, oh, thanks for that tidbit. But then Hank said, we got a problem. I got rid of all the diffraction units on the new suit, so we're screwed. Luckily, Scott mailed the old suit to Luis because the Postal Service is very reliable. And then he
Got
realizes Cassie.
Even though he had previously told them he got rid of the suit, destroyed the suit.
Yeah, he said he destroyed it, but he said it's in that trophy, the best grandma ever trophy. He realized that Cassie took it to school for show and tell. So off to the school we go for fun, shrinky, growy times, where he is like the size of a kid. He's wearing a blue sweatshirt, and that's all funny shit. And they have a moment where they want to kiss in the closet. And little known fact, my wife and I once made out in a closet in an elementary school.
Does she want you to share that little known fact?
She probably doesn't want me to. Yeah, we almost got caught.
Another point for when to
Yeah. Well, we lived in an elementary school at
making
the time.
it easier.
So
it wasn't a school in session.
no, it was a summer. It was where we lived during summer stock theater. We lived in a school, but we
Yes,
went in the
that's-
janitor's closet to make out. Anyway, and then we get the funny line, "Hey, do you want a juice box and some string cheese?" Yeah, real funny. Do you really have that? And that's where I stopped. So after the little school thing. So
It's a good time to stop.
yeah, that's a good place to stop. Is there any bits we want to add about this before we?
I just want to add something. We went over the scene in the beginning with Scott and his daughter. I don't know if I said it in the last Ant-Man movie. I do love, even though he's a goofball who keeps mucking things up, he is always striving to be a good dad. And I love that take. And I love that we can see it every time he's on screen with his daughter. And I don't think that's talked about enough, because you don't have to be a perfect dad to be a present dad and to do right by your kid.
Yeah, and
Right.
just being
She
there.
loves her dad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she loves
She
her
sees
dad.
that. She keeps a secret. She covers for him.
Yeah,
She's on it.
it is very sweet. And if you are a dad of a daughter, it's like it melts your heart. There's something about dads and daughters, I think, that's like just different. Like my daughter's got me wrapped around her finger and she knows it. I fucking took her to Taylor Swift, but there's something about that when they're little, and seeing Cassie as that little girl, even knowing now that we see her soon older, and it's like, God, they're only tiny like that for a second. So fucking play with them, man. That's what I tell everybody. Like, our scientist friend who does the shark shows just adopted a baby girl. I was like, you got any advice? I was like, yes, just cherish every fucking moment, man. Like, live in the moment.
Be present. Yeah.
Be present.
That is
Put your
the
phone
number
down.
one.
Yeah.
Be
Look at
present.
her, stare at her. Remember those moments, because they're fucking gone in a heartbeat. And then
They remember them for you too. Like, you
Yeah.
know, my youngest will occasionally thank me for parenting, and it has a lot to do with just time.
yeah.
I didn't have a lot of money. I've been a single mom for a good chunk of his life. But what
Sure.
I did do is set aside the time to be present when I
Yep.
could, and made the most of that time. Even if it was just going to get an ice cream cone at McDonald's and going to the park. We just spent time together. And Scott is doing that in this movie. Even on house arrest, he's making the best time for his child. And I
Yep.
love it.
Yep. It's
And
awesome.
That's it.
also, this is well, I guess we'll discuss this 2 movies from now.
Don't get that far ahead.
But you
I-
see,
I can be dead by
you see like the whole, the girl dad moment, like very early on in the next one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think I've gotten it because I did skip ahead a little bit, but I think that's the thing. Before you know it, they're going to be gross and have pubes, and you got joy.
Golly, come on. I also think it's a nice contrast. We talk about watching this with some levity because we just watched Infinity War.
Yeah,
But it's also nice
very-
to watch this father-daughter relationship that is not as toxic as the one we also just watched in Infinity War.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thanos and-
yes, good point.
Gamora
That's
and
really
Nebula.
good. That's a.
I
That's
know,
a really
that's
good
why
point.
you pay me the big bucks.
That's
Joe.
why TBJ is here
Right.
Why you pay me
to
the
bring
big bucks.
She's the only one who gets paid on this.
to compare
Yeah.
the contrast.
I
Yeah.
keep trying to get you paid. If you just show that thigh meat, Art, I'm trying. Okay.
Yeah.
I will invite the people to rub up on your thigh meat, and you too can get paid.
Art Star has an
Should I-
OnlyFans.
Should I? Speaking of OnlyFans, so
Lord, where's this going?
someone got in a ton of packages, right? And like big boxes, big Amazon boxes. And one of the stagehands came in and said to me, like, man, he was like, I guess you got that for all of your OnlyFans, giveaways or whatever.
Ah,
And I was like, huh, wait, what? What are you talking about? There's all those packages back there. You're like, them for your fans, when you do your OnlyFans. I was like, yeah, okay. And then I looked at him and like, in that moment, not to prejudge, but I'm like, okay, I could see this guy being that guy who's contributing, all of his earnings to OnlyFans and being a creep. I don't.
Or a supporter. You can. There's a
That
thin
too,
line.
but in that moment, as
There are some supporters.
a male, like I have feelings too, and in that moment,
Listen, I'm
I
trying to
felt
exploit
like
your
I
feelings.
felt
for
like
gain.
I felt like that dude just him saying that to me, I felt dirty.
Don't
felt
feel
so
dirty.
dirty.
All right, we're trying to turn a profit here. Okay, we've got the goods. You've got the goods. Let's share them. You're not married.
So you want
You're
me to
not
just-
married. Joe and Andy are married, so I can't pimp out their thighs. Okay.
And there's a lot of
So-
prisoners that'll pay you a lot of packs of
You
smoke.
are single, so
Listen,
let
listen,
me
listen.
grow this.
Listen, we're gonna do this the easy way or the hard way.
You don't want to do it the hard way. We could be rich right now. Our podcast could be earning so much support. All you got to do is put on some hoochie daddy shorts. That's it.
Or I could just talk to him really sweet, like
That's true.
You
You can do a
gotta do
sex
both.
line. You can do a sex
Like-
line.
Both.
So
And
the
isn't the
money
hard
comes
way
in.
LL Cool J and James Woods?
Yeah. That was a movie. Also Michael J. Fox.
Wait, the
Michael
three
J.
of them were in that?
LL Cool J was like a very supporting character in that.
I love LL Cool J. All right, with that, we're out of time for this episode, listeners. History for Jerks, Nerd School listeners. We love you. If you want Art Star thigh meat, if you want some pictures, reach out to us on Instagram at
Yep.
is it at Nerd School Pod. Is that what we're
At
Instagram?
Nerd School Pod. School
Be
with
of
a K.
age.
Yeah,
Be
you
of
have to be
age.
18. if
Yeah,
you
I
want.
will do some screening. I'm not ruthless. I will do some screening, but just know, listen, y'all, we'll put it behind a paywall, but you too can be a supporter of
Yes.
Art Star's thigh meat.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And with that, that's the end of this episode.
Now ending Nerd School podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Nerd School podcast.
They say I can't rap about the president no more, but evidently they don't see we in the streets still poor. Still more incarceration of my kinsmen by the prisons, and people thinking this election to end in racism. Proud of a pessimism, glad to see Obama, but don't expect me not to speak out when I still see problems, Mr. Officer. Now they POTUS look like me, you gon' think again when seeing brothers rolling down the street. Every Martin Luther King on his American dream. Still a Rodney being beaten, screaming fuck the police. Me, I'm running through the pasture, trying to get away from master, but the dogs is on my ass, I gotta move a little faster. Can't pass for Caucasian, but I got a couple papers from the plantation saying I graduated. Congratulations, cool beans, but to most school mean trying to dodge STDs, living off government cheese. Trust the government, please. Not even if it was me sitting in the Oval Office as commander-in-chief, trying to give us free, but there's a nigga in my ear saying, you got it, Superman, you ought to kick it here. Get this distinctly clear, I'm all about jetting. Raps Kunta Kinte without the half-stepping. A new chapter, back with new lessons. After that, the final exam. Any questions?
QueenCityPodcastNetwork.com.